Hi, welcome back. We are on episode 12, and I believe Eve left us on a little cliffhanger, so we're going to resume.
Yes, we are going to resume the story, but before we resume it, I think I would like to talk a little bit about reincarnation.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because reincarnation is pivotal. It's a centerpiece of all the things we are talking about.
That's
So,
true.
when we think about it, reincarnation has been suppressed from the Bible,
Right.
and they probably had some reason for doing that.
Well, I'm sure it's one of the books that are missing. They'll find one day.
Maybe they wanted to keep the control on the populations.
Well, yeah, that's why they took the book out, one of the books of many.
It's also interesting to know that the reincarnation is believed and accepted by more than 1 billion people on the planet today.
That's right.
I mean, pretty much all the Hindus and many other religions are
That's right.
accepting it. And it makes sense to explain everything in our lives, all the experience we are having, right?
It does. And the people that come in our lives and what their purpose is sometimes, good and
Exactly.
bad sometimes. Yeah.
So I wanted to make this small parenthesis before we get into the subject, because again, to summarize where we are, the author, Daniel Morwa, is reading the Akashic memories of Yeshua, also known as Jesus in our culture, right?
Right.
So he's in the body of Yeshua, is feeling exactly what happened to Yeshua. Every sensations, every perception from his senses is coming through the Akashic memories. Okay?
That's amazing.
So
yeah.
we know that during the last episode, we saw that Yeshua was about to get some kind of memories being brought to him, back to him, okay? But he was refusing to take one of the
Oh,
liquid,
the plant medicine.
yeah,
That's right.
the Yahoma, that would supposedly open up his consciousness and allows him to receive more of the records or whatever,
Right.
the memories. But we know that he doesn't need them, and he's also vehemently opposed to taking it. And we're going to understand better why.
He's vehemently opposed to taking
Vehemently.
Right. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're going to understand why it is so. So we have to understand that. Okay. So the author is into an Akashic memory reading. And within that Akashic memory reading, he's doing another level of Akashic memory reading.
It's pretty interesting. Right?
Yes.
It's like having a dream within a
Of
dream.
previous incarnation of Yeshua.
Ah, okay.
So, okay.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So we are going to discover one of the previous incarnations of Yeshua. And that was about 1,000 years ago. Before his time.
Oh, 1,000 years before his time.
So
not
it would be
1,000
3,000 years ago
Okay.
from us now.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think I wanted to explain all that. So now everything I'm going to relate is the second Akashic memory reading.
Okay, this is
Basically the regression of Yeshua's life 1,000 years ago.
Okay.
So when he goes into the trance, he sees himself as a young adolescent. He's wearing a brown robe and he's watching a lot of activities taking place. So we are in the northern part of what today is Afghanistan, but at that time it was Persia.
Okay.
Okay? So, and the city is today Balkh, and at that time it was another name, a little bit more complicated. So there is a celebration being prepared, and what is hitting the most and the most disturbing for him is the stench of the blood. There is blood, coagulated blood, and dry blood all over the place.
Oh, from all the sacrifices.
From all the sacrifices,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Okay.
So he's
yeah,
watching,
that's probably was disgusting
yes,
smelling.
he's watching a bunch of priests, which are all bald, so they are shaved their head, and they are preparing some kind of beverage, which is the ahoma. We have talked about that beverage. And Yeshua's father, his name is Puru Drashpa. So the father's name is Puru Drashpa. is the chief of all the priests who are preparing the offerings and all the liquid which are going to be used during the celebrations. Okay. Interestingly enough, we never know the name of the young man that was Yeshua 1,000 years ago. As long as he is not turned into an avatar, we do not know his name. It is not being revealed to us.
Okay.
So going back to the preparation. So they are preparing the celebration for Ahura Mazda, who was the divinity at that time.
Okay.
Okay, in Persia. She was a central divinity in Persia of a religion called Mazdaism. Okay, it has nothing to do with a car. I just wanted to let people know about that. Okay? And that religion started about 4,000 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, so it is quite old. So let's talk a little bit about this aoma. I think it may have puzzled a few of our audience. So the aoma is made with the stem of an ephedra, which is a small tree, a small shrub, that contains crystal meth. Okay?
Oh, okay, yeah.
It is then mixed with some mushrooms and lichens, and they crushed all this mixture into a stone mortar. So it creates a very thick juice.
Okay.
Okay? That thick juice is then mixed with milk and barley, and it is fermented with honey. Okay, and that's the result.
That's their old-time ayahuasca kind of trip. Sounds
Yes.
like. But yeah, you know, I did read that it's one of the highest counts of meth is in Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan. Okay.
Along with the heroin.
So they are
It's
resurrecting that
That's
drink.
a lot, yeah.
Or they never lost track of it.
Maybe they didn't. Wow.
So apparently that liquid, was taken, was giving, of course, containing meth and mushrooms and all this stuff. Probably was, allowing the astral body to detach from the physical body and go somewhere. Who knows where? Yeah.
Right. It's interesting. I wonder who came up with the whole. Because you'd have to put the right amount of everything in there.
Oh, well, they have been doing that for thousands and thousands of years.
Wow.
I mean, nothing new about it. Okay?
Yeah.
So the song and litany is also the kind of music they are playing during the preparation are based on 3 notes only. So they use only 3 notes.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is, for some reason, it is infuriating the young man that is looking at the preparation.
He doesn't
like that sound.
tone.
Yeah, that tone,
There's
which
probably
is
something in the frequency.
right.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that young man, again, who is the previous incarnation of Yeshua, cannot understand why all the people wanted to get high in an attempt to reach their God, Because supposedly they basically ingest that potion, that liquid, to get high and reach Ahura Mazda, their God. But the most horrific is not so much getting high, is that there are hundreds and hundreds of cows and bulls. We are going to have their throats sliced, okay? And what they do, basically, when the blood spills out, of the cut of the animals, they put their face under it and get the blood splashing their face. And then, of course, when the animal dies, all this blood is basically running down the streets and creating this horrible stench that is being felt.
Now this is done during each ceremony?
Yes, during those celebrations.
Oh my God.
Everybody is basically spraying his face with the blood of a recently killed animal.
I don't understand where that all came from, but...
Yeah. So, again, the young man, watching all these, preparing all this stuff being done, does not recognize himself as part of this family.
Mm-hmm.
He is wondering, why are people drinking the blood? Why are they splashing their body with blood? Why are they ingesting this liquid? He does not understand. And it's he does not understand why people would pretend to live when in fact they are asleep. Yeah. By ingesting and doing all those ceremonies, they pretend to be alive when in fact they are just completely asleep. Yeah. So He's not able to cope about these rituals anymore, and he decides to go outside of the temple. He's crossing the town, and he's leaving for the mountains.
So he never took it.
Oh no, he never took it.
Oh, okay.
And knowing how it is made and what is the purpose of that liquid, it explains why 1,000 years later,
Just the smell of
young
it.
Yeshua would refuse
Right.
to take this this potion.
Just the smell of it, he knew it's like it just
Yeah.
still came through.
And he knew that this was such a horrible memory for him
Yeah.
that he absolutely didn't want to do it again in a future incarnation.
Right.
Yeah. So he's leaving for the mountains, and he's going to be gone for 7 years.
Oh.
Yeah. He's not coming back. His father, he lost track of his father, and reciprocally.
Yeah.
And he's going to live like an hermit, an ascet, okay? He's basically reluctant to meet anyone.
Any idea how old he was at that time?
He probably was 17 or 18 years
Oh,
old.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was an
He's
adult.
presented as
sort
a
of.
kind of an adolescent or,
Right.
yeah. And so he wanted to find the secret of the soul of the human being and the secret of Ahura Mazda, the divinity, the father of everything, and not one of his masks, because when he talks about mask, this is basically the paintings or the carvings or the statues which are representing a god.
Okay.
This is what, for Yeshua and for also this previous incarnation, this is what he calls a mask.
Okay.
Because it's not the real stuff.
Right.
It's just an appearance.
Right. Well, because people need to have some kind of visual.
Yeah,
Right.
if you want.
Of something.
But it
Some
still,
people feel
it still remains a mask and
Right.
not the real thing. Yeah. So, again, he's staying 7 years in his cave, basically eating who knows what, roots and little stuff here and there, whatever he can find, berries. And then his body is really in a horrible shape. He's almost so weak that he's about to die.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just as he was about to, to die or something like that, a being showed up in his cave.
Oh.
Right at the last minute.
What took you so long? No.
Yeah. And the being says, "My name is Anahita. Anahita. I am one and I'm all.
Oh.
My father," which is basically the creator, "is identical to your father. I am coming from the star that your people veneer since the beginning."
Oh, okay.
So we can assume that this creature is an extraterrestrial. Okay? And the being asks him, "Do you want to leave?" And of course, Yeshua says, "But what does it mean to live if we have to be, taking those potions and sacrificing
Subjected to all of
animals
that.
and all this stuff?"
Yeah, it's horrible.
So they start a dialogue, which is going to last for a night and a day, pretty much. And Anahita and the young man are going to be talking, and Anahita is going to finalize and improve the knowledge of the young man.
Oh, okay.
So the interesting part about Anahita is it is a male and female at the same time. Okay?
Like our angels.
Yes. It
Androgynous.
is fire and water.
Oh, okay.
It is divine and human. So it has basically combined all the aspects of duality.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is what those beings, coming from
It's
that
a little
planet.
bit more than angelic then.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we think the planet is Venus. Again, I'm not completely sure, but I think it is Venus that they were veneering at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And of course, a representation has been made of Anahita, and we will show a few pictures in the presentation. One of them is a famous statue which was found. It's a bronze statue showing a woman, so they represented Anahita more as a female being. And she's holding her breast with her hands like that. There is another statue which is also famous where she's holding her breast again, but it's made of stone and she has very wide hips. Okay? And then there are other, AI generated beautiful generation of image which also represent her. So she's the divinity of water, of fire, of balance, of a lot of stuff. And she was actually veneered in Persia at that time. So after 7 years in the cave and this final encounter with Anahita, this young man realized that he's finally ready to go back to the world of livings. So what he does is actually very, very similar to what he will do as under the identity of Yeshua. So he's going to go down in the valleys and he's going to start teaching the poorest and the most ignorant people who are living, in the countryside, basically,
Right.
whoever he can find. People who are stuck in nets of beliefs and fears. So he wants to try to change that,
Crack through that.
Yeah, exactly. And also, very important, he starts healing with his hands.
Oh, okay.
So he puts his hands on the people and he's healing their pain, their problem, physical problems and everything. So he's also in his teaching, he's rejecting the king, he's rejecting the priests and the walls that they have surrounded themselves with, So again, we can see the similarity of what Yeshua in the early days is going to do.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So he's rejecting the enslavement to wars, the need to kill animals and spill their blood at the feet of empty
Here we go
statues
again.
and idols,
I guess it wasn't his first rodeo when he came back the second time.
No, exactly, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So year after year, he's going to speak to more and more people, asking them to reject the aroma and not to use it.
Oh, okay.
And that explains again why he didn't want to drink it, right?
Right.
But apparently, from what you are telling me, it looks like the aroma is back in.
Well, I don't know if they do that with it. I think they have that there, that tree's there, and they're selling it.
Okay, they are selling.
I'm
the
sure a
meth.
lot of it's coming here, unfortunately, with their little poppies. But anyway,
And what he does with all the crowds is he speaks also about his father, basically Ahura Mazda. Of course, as you can imagine, the king and the priest are starting to react because they have feedbacks about and echoes about what's going on
they're
in the
hearing
countryside.
about what's
Again.
again.
Again, this young man has to run away because he's being persecuted and they want to get rid of him. So he's fleeing to a kingdom, another kingdom in Persia, ruled by a very good man called Ishpates. So I couldn't find anything about Ishpates. Obviously, we are talking about 3,000 years ago. There are probably not too many records. But he was the father of Darius the First. And there is a lot of material on Darius the First, but not on his father.
Oh, okay.
So
What was Zari the first about?
I don't know what
Yeah.
it is, but his
Yeah.
father was a good man
Oh, okay.
who basically accepted that young man who was preaching,
Right.
new thought forms and new way of thinking, and protected him. And at that time, the young man was no longer young; he was 30 years old.
Okay.
And
I'm seeing a pattern here.
right.
Okay.
And again, one day, he has something very bizarre happening to him. It's like lightning going through his body from his feet all the way to his head.
Is it having a Kundalini experience?
Well, probably, or even better than that, maybe a Christic
Energy.
energy being sent to him. Okay, so this is giving him, we will see that again with the life of Yeshua later on, but this is giving him extra powers, an extra way of presenting his message. And the king realized that the young man has changed a lot.
Oh.
And he's being given the name of Zerah-Ushtar, which means the star that glows like the suns.
Oh my gosh. Wow. He must have glowed a lot.
Yeah. And so Zerah-Ushtar is also what we know in our culture under the name of Zarathoustra or Zoroaster. Okay? These are different names for the same thing.
Right.
So we don't know the name of the young man, but from that point, he's now called Zerah-Ushtar. And we will keep the original name for our audience. And basically this lightning or this energy, that Christic energy that went through his body, turns him into what is called an avatar. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So at first, Yeshua and his previous incarnation, he refuses the name that is being given to him. He said, "Oh, I'm not an avatar. I mean, how can you call me like that? I'm just a young person, And the fact that he's teaching so many people now, thousands and thousands of people, that he realized that he has to accept the name. Because every time they meet in public, the crowd is scanning his name. Zerah-Ushtar, Zerah-Ushtar.
I know. It's a humbling experience.
Yeah, so again, like we will see later on, there are a few people who are joining him, and he starts creating a group.
Oh, okay.
So, and those people are coming from either dissident priests who are fed up with the Aoma and all the sacrificing of animals,
Right.
and also some peasants and humble people.
Probably some Essenes.
Perhaps, yeah. So, but what I think it's important for our audience to realize is that the process by which he's communicating to the masses and the process by which he's growing and developing himself is almost identical to what he will do under the name of Jesus Christ. Right?
Interesting.
There's a lot of similarities.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the problem he has is that everybody wants to receive the healing from his hands, So he's very busy with that. So let's dwell a little bit on what he's trying to change, I mean, we know he made some errors and he realized that. But let's see what he's trying to bring to these people in Persia. Right?
Right.
So he's basically telling them, you need to reform the offerings. You cannot kill animals anymore. No more blood spilled. No more animal sacrificed. This has to go. If you need to do an offering, then it should be something very simple, like dates, or
Right.
pomegranate.
Something easy, not messy.
Or holy water.
Right.
Or some milk,
Right.
honey. I mean, even some wine, if you want,
Just a simple little...
Simple stuff,
simple
exactly.
offering.
If you feel like you need to have an offering
Right.
to those deities, to Ahura Mazda or to Anahita, okay? So there is no need to kill hundreds of cows. And so basically, when he addresses the crowd, he's standing on top of a rock, which is overlooking the crowd, and he has to scream because the crowd again is scanning his name all the time, which
Right.
makes it very difficult to communicate.
To talk, yeah.
So they are always saying Zerah-Ushtar, Zerah-Ushtar. So he's teaching those people the law of what we could say planting and harvesting,
Okay.
or seeding and harvesting,
Okay.
which we know as karma, right?
Right.
And he's also explaining to those people the three principles, which is you should have just thoughts, you should have just words, and you should have just actions.
Okay. That's a pretty easy.
Yeah, very easy, right? And whatever you do today, you will reap the results in the future,
Right.
which is the law of karma, right?
Right.
So what is just? I mean, people may interpret just, in different way. So just in his mind means what leads to goodness, something that beautifies the soul and which is beyond the words of lies and deceptions.
Okay.
So
Well,
it's not too difficult,
not
right?
too bad.
So what he tells them, he said, slavery must stop. So no more slavery in this kingdom. Freedom must be in every heart. Every human being must feel free.
Wow.
Well, we're not even there yet.
We're
right?
not. We're not there.
No more theft, no more laziness. We must foster abundance for everybody. See? We still have a long way to go,
We do
right?
have a long way to go.
You must respect and love the animals. I think we are getting there.
Yes.
But you must preserve the purity of fire, the purity of water, purity of the earth, the dirt, and the purity of the air. Okay? This
Definitely
is very
have to work
important.
on that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, in my opinion, one of the most important one is that every man and every woman is able to communicate directly to God
Oh,
without a middleman,
Right.
without a priest
right,
in the middle, right?
right.
And this connection between a regular man and a regular woman and the Creator should be done as much as possible on a daily basis, and perhaps even more often than that.
Right.
And again, very important, you do not need a priest. The link is direct.
Right.
The priest doesn't bring anything in the balance.
Right. No, it's true.
Yes, think about our Christian church and all
Well,
this stuff.
it's Catholic.
Yeah,
The
Catholic, yeah.
Yeah. They're the ones that have little boxes to go in and confess in.
So he also say that there is a unique God, so no more of those divinities all over the place, there is a unique God, and its name is Ahura Mazda. Okay, and interestingly, and I'm gonna show also during the presentation a picture depicting what it is. So he explained that God created two forces. Okay, one is what we call the good, and one is the bad. But those two forces are not created to divide us, but to teach us how to choose.
Oh, contrast.
Well, to bring the contrast, of
Right.
course, but to choose and to grow. So, and those two forces do not exist outside in the sky, but they exist only inside the mind of human beings. So, the spirit of good is named Spenta Mainiu, which is known in our culture under the name of Ormuzd, okay? And the spirit of darkness is named Angra Mainiu, which is known as Ahriman.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, those names are quite
They sound very
famous.
old.
Yes, oh yes. So while he's doing all this preaching and trying to explain and educate the masses, following the lightning bolt that went through his body, other powers are coming to Zerah-Ushtar. And one of them is that he's starting to materialize fire with his hands. So, he can create little balls of fire in his hands, and he can juggle with them, which is very impressive to the crowd.
Well, yeah. That'll get your attention. Get my attention.
But where he does a mistake, according to him, it's a mistake. He starts creating all kind of things with his hands. He creates food, objects, and all kind of stuff. And the horrible result of that is that the people are no longer listening to him.
Why?
Because they are more interested by what he's
what he's
creating
doing.
as a magician
Yeah, they see him
than
as
what
a
he's
magician.
saying.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, they get distracted by the balls of fire,
Yeah, because it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the food coming out of his hands and all the,
Right.
the water, whatever it is.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And at this point, people are they stop completely listening to him. They are only interested by what he's creating, the materialistic part of it.
Okay.
They just want to enjoy the gifts, but the message is gone.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And
He
so,
went a little too far, maybe.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he realized, Zerah-Ushtar realized that he went too far. I mean, that the humankind in Persia was not ready
Right.
to get all this.
I imagine that would happen today too.
Oh yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah. People will be more interested by what is he
Wow,
gonna?
what else can you do?
What is gonna come out of his hands
Right.
instead of what is coming out of his mouth? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So he's very disappointed, you know, and this is one of the lessons he's going to learn when he comes back as Yeshua in
Okay.
his future incarnation.
Okay.
Okay, that's one of the bitter lessons that he's learning and working on. So he's so disappointed by the behavior of the masses and the crowds that he goes back into the mountain.
Oh.
He forgets everything.
Okay.
And what we know about the end of his life, and this is being shown again to Yeshua while he's in the temple with Yosheram and the three other priests, that he took a wife in the mountains. You know, he was living in a small village. He took a wife. He had 3 daughters, and he was living a perfect life of a man. And on his old days, he tried to find a sculptor to immortalize and to materialize the vision of the perfect man.
Oh.
And the perfect man is called the Fravar. The Fravar, okay? And I think we have seen that, and we're going to, again, present a picture of it. And there are also some carvings which I've done on some walls. And it is similar to what we call the Admon Kaman, which is a perfect man.
Right.
And it's a person basically with 2 big wings on each side.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, you've seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is the eternal man standing with his wings unfolded. And this is what Zerah-Ushtar was trying to convey. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how. So that's the end of the life regression for Yeshua of his one of his previous incarnations. And so now he's waking up, you know, it's like a shock.
It's like, wait a minute.
So he comes out of the life of Zerah-Ushtar. His heart is just emptied of all the memory and and his limbs are very stiff. It's going to take him a couple of days to regain his suppleness and,
Right.
you know, and ease. And it's really a very brutal experience that he went through. So after listening to the story, because they realize what happened, you know, some of the priests in the temple are trying to touch his feet as a sign of reverence, you know, and respect. But he refuses it. He says, no, okay, hold on, guys. I'm just a 13-and-a-half-year-old, you know. I mean, I'm not a demigod. I'm not a master. I mean, just leave me alone.
Right.
I need to digest what I just went through.
Right.
Please do not do that, okay? He's always very humble. And the following day, once they're out of the temple, Yeshua takes Yosheram, his friend, to the garden where he had met the Elohim, you know, with a fragrant tree and everything. And Yeshua tells all the details to Yosheram. He tells him everything that he has been seeing during the life regression. So Yosh is confirming to Yeshua that he's indeed a reincarnation of Zerah-Ushtar. And Yeshua finally agrees. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
So they are both silent, and Yosheram starts crying. You know, I mean, Yosheram is an old man. He has been following the path of Yeshua for a good chunk of his life. Remember, he was in Egypt when they realized that that baby of less than a year old was a reincarnation.
Right.
A new tuktu, right? An avatar.
Right.
And Yosh has been, you know, in communication with those priests in Balkh, you know, preparing all this stuff that would happen so that he could relive that memory, which is so important because that memory is basically, it's a foundation for what Yeshua is going to use in the future for his teaching.
Well, it was really good for him to see that.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, he really...
Because he could see
Yeah.
what are the mistakes he did and
Right.
what he should be avoiding in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
we will see that. I mean, I'm moving ahead of
And also
myself.
the same thing with the sacrificing of the animals.
Yes, yeah,
you know, he was so
absolutely.
adamant about that too.
Right.
So
And let's remember that the Jewish people at that time were sacrificing enormous amount
so
of
much. There was so
sheep
much.
and goats and everything.
I don't know how there was ever a good smell there, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ahead of myself. But you know, when Yeshua will in the future materialize things and food to help his followers,
Right.
he will do it in a very discreet
Very
way.
discreet. Yeah.
Yeah,
He did
he's
it,
not
yeah.
gonna juggle, you know, the ball of
Right.
fire in his hands or anything like
Not
that.
turn around, do all his matches, and
Yes.
show up with something.
Actually, he never showed anything. The way he does it, he gives a basket, and the people put their hands in the basket, and
And
they
it's just
pull
endless.
out. Yeah, and it's endless.
Yeah.
It's like the basket has no bottom. See? So, young Yeshua, you know, realized that he did a few wrong things during this incarnation, and it's gonna help him define and create the method that he will be using in the future.
Okay.
And
good.
I think this is why they wanted him to
Yeah.
relive this past life,
really important.
so he could realize, you know, what was good and what was wrong.
So he was able to get into that regression without any.
Oh no,
Math.
without any mess,
okay.
without any ahoma.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, a lot of people can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done regressions. I haven't had to do any math to do
He
it.
didn't do anything.
I didn't
No
have to do any.
mushrooms,
No, I
nothing?
didn't do anything. No.
So they meet with Melkus. Melkus is the leader of the caravan, and some decisions are taken. Because it's late in the season, it's already fall, well into fall, Melkus decides that the caravan will go back to the west.
Oh, okay.
You remember they're all going east, right, to the
Right.
mountains in Kashmir and the high mountains of Afghanistan. So the caravan will go back to the west, but Melkus will stay with them, as promised,
Right.
and will take them to the final destination, the mountain of Solomon.
Okay.
Okay? And so it means that they're going to have to spend the winter in Balkh, in the city of Balkh.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so they're going to be
So
staying
they ended up.
many
They weren't
months.
planning on it, but
No, they were not planning it, but it
Yeah.
is a lot safer.
right.
Okay, so Yeshua is very sad because he's leaving his dromedary Hisem, you know.
Oh no.
He's actually really, literally mourning. And so sad because
I would be sad too. It's like
Yeah.
giving up your animal, your dog, your cat,
yeah,
whatever.
I mean
yeah.
that camel has spent so many months with him, you know,
Yeah.
and carrying him
Yeah.
throughout thousands and thousands of miles.
He's a trusted
Yes.
friend.
Yeah. And so he's, you know, leaving Hisem is wondering, how is it possible to not love animals like humans?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you think about it,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Why is it so difficult?
Oh, it's not difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah. So they're gonna be spending this long winter in the city of Balkh, you know, and for the first time, Yeshua is gonna discover the snow. He has never seen the snow, right? Living in Israel, you know, you have never seen the snow.
Right.
It never snow there, so for the first time, and he loves the peace and silence that the snow brings. To
Love
the
that
land, right?
first snowfall.
So they are buying also new and warmer clothes, you know, and wool coats, so and multicolor blankets. So it's a lot different from the fashion, you know, in Judee and Galilee.
Right.
Everything is more colorful. They are wearing black turbans, you know, to keep their
Oh.
head warm.
Right.
Yeah, and they have those multicolor blankets that they wrapped around their shoulder, you know. So, and people, I mean, Yeshua really starts loving the people. He loves those Persian people. Maybe it's a reminiscence of his previous lifetime,
Right.
but he's enjoying their presence and even try to learn their language.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so he can exchange a little bit, yeah. And he realized also that the priests, 1,000 years later, I mean, when Yeshua is there, are still drinking the aroma
Oh.
and still killing animals.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, animal sacrifices are still there, He finds also statues of Anahita, the goddess holding her breast, He's a little bit disappointed by the way she has been presented and depicted, And he realized that the avatar Zerah-Ushtar was really shooting too high for the development of humankind at this time.
Right.
Yeah, and people were not ready. So
Are people ready today, you think?
I wonder.
I think so.
Maybe a little bit more, but
I think they are.
Yeah. So the other thing is that Melkus is trying to get also some small ponies or small horses, because the camels cannot go into the snow. There is no way. They cannot sustain that.
Little feet would hurt.
Yeah.
Get frostbite on
So
those.
they have to change their ride, So and they're waiting for the spring to come back, and when the spring comes back, so with the first flowers and plants growing back, Yeshua realized that he's now 14 years old. So
14?
14 years old. He's celebrating his birthday with spring.
Still.
Which confirms what I've always thought, is that he was not born on December 25th.
Right.
Okay. He was born somewhere in the spring, probably March, or between March and April.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah. So he's 14-year-old.
Wow. What an
En
adventure.
route for many more adventures. Yeah.
Wow.
So during our next episode, we will be taking the next segment of this long journey. We hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And again, if you feel a little bit lost into what we are saying, we encourage you to go back to the first episode and take them in chronological order.
Yeah, it would definitely help. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again.